Hello, and welcome to It's a Talk Show Now, which is a talk show that we have. Hi, I'm Martha.
And I'm lowest voice possible Johnson.
And I'm your host, Headphones, and today we have with us our guest, Stainless Devin. Hello, my name's Stainless Devin. Nice to have you. Thank you very much. Now, today I'm here to discuss my studies on people's relationships with each other in terms of Discoid and Sigh, which is the name of my theory that I have. Discoid and Sigh, the theory. Wow, I'm clapping a lot to what you're saying. Yay, so are all of us. Thank you very much. I'm just gonna lean on the paper. I approve that. And me too, I understand how you feel in terms of falling down. And also I'm clapping a lot.
As am I, I'm also clapping.
Me too. I'm clapping a lot right now. Now, Stainless Devin, could you tell us a little more about why you have chosen to work with the theory of Discoid and Sigh and what exactly it is? Yes, so Discoid and Sigh, if you'll have a look at my chart here that I have, Discoid and Sigh is the theory that whenever three people are in a given group, they will naturally fall into the pattern of Discoid and Sigh behavior. Some folks are disc dominant in personality, some are koi dominant, and some are Sigh dominant. In every group, no matter what personalities are dominant with what traits, there will naturally be one disc, one koi, and one Sigh, depending on how they treat each other. I think that's very interesting. I'm clapping. Yay, everyone's still clapping. Thank you very much. Now, the disc is usually the plainest of the three in terms of the way they behave. They're usually very neutral. They are more likely to behave in a pretty straightforward fashion. And the koi has a flair for the aesthetics, a sense of logic, and oftentimes a strong sense of identity. The Sigh is usually the one who's the most insecure and is attracted to headgear. Huh. Okay, and why are they attracted to headgear? Because the Sigh is usually the one who will look in the mirror every day and think to themselves, something's missing, and so they'll put on a hat, or perhaps glasses, or perhaps sunglasses, perhaps some goggles. All right, well, that's very fascinating. I'm clapping a lot right now, and I just want to say I'm a bit confused, but I think that your theory sounds very intelligent. Now, could you tell us a little more about disc dominance and koi dominance and Sigh dominance in personalities? Yes, disc dominant people are the ones who are going to be more in admiration of the koi, and they're going to view themselves as more equal to the Sigh. The Sigh will also admire the koi greatly, but will feel threatened and is more likely, therefore, to have conflicts with the koi. The Sigh will also view the disc as an equal, but yet, since the Sigh is insecure, will sometimes feel lower than the disc and will therefore try to impress the disc, but will often annoy the disc because they can take it far. Okay, and is this always how they behave around each other? No, their behaviors manifest based on what the personalities are as well. There's always plenty of other factors, including the fact that every personality, according to my theory, has a disc dominance or a koi dominance or a Sigh dominance, but yet those with a disc dominance will also have koi and Sigh aspects to their personality in descending orders of dominance, depending on what they end up with. It often has to do with whether or not they were raised by a disc or a koi or a Sigh or whatever combination of parents, and whether or not they were around a lot of Sighs in school, or whether they were around a lot of kois in college. It really just depends. But also, those who are drawn to kois and Sighs are usually discs, and those who are drawn to discs and Sighs are usually kois, etc. Wow, I think that's fascinating. And we're clapping also. And how can you tell if you're talking to a disc dominant person if you haven't really gotten to know them yet? Can you tell? Well, yes, because they're going to be drawn fashion sense-wise to, certain shapes. The disc tends to, when they see themselves in the mirror, see a lot more circles. And so they tend to choose a lot of circles in their fashion. They tend to, as I said, dress pretty plainly. But, of course, a disc with more coy tendencies will be more likely to dress with a bit more flair for the aesthetic. And a disc with more Sigh tendencies will be more likely to wear a hat, as I said before. Now, so just because someone's wearing a hat, does that make them a Sigh every time? I mean, they can't just be everyone with a hat is a Sigh, or else that doesn't. What about people who just kind of wear hats for other reasons? Oh, well, sure, there's plenty of reasons to wear a hat, and I'd say one of the biggest reasons is if you have a job where you're required to wear a hat. But also, some people will wear a hat for reasons even if they're not a Sigh. So you've got maybe 3 people in a group, maybe all of them are wearing hats. Whether or not they have Sigh tendencies, the Sigh of the group will be wearing usually the biggest hat, the coy of the group will be wearing usually the coolest hat, and the disc will be wearing the plainest hat. I see. And this is all stuff that you've come across in your studies. How did you get started studying this stuff? Well, I used to party a lot in college. I could never really take alcohol because of the medication that I take, but I used to party a lot in college, and while communing with certain people and having my experiences in parties, I would see a lot of people, so just because I had a large amount of people that I was seeing, I would get a big sample amount of people to study. And I would just draw these conclusions over time. I did a lot of sketches of the people around me, and I, compared myself to the people around me a lot. I found myself wondering what they thought about me, and that led to my studying all of this. So that's really cool. Clap. I'm clapping now. I've decided that I'm clapping. Yay, clapping all around. I'm clapping a whole lot right now. I'm clapping so much that I feel like my hands are going to fall off. I could see you doing that, and I'm thinking about it, and I'm clapping too.
Now, Stainless Devin, could you tell us a little about the way that different groups behave? Like, what if it's 3 coys, and what if a person is a coy, but then they go to their family and and their family is all coys?
Well, in that case, of course, the coy is going to end up being the Sigh of the group or the disc of the group, depending on if it's a group of all coys. If 3 coys are in a group, maybe one of them is a little more drawn to circles, and one of them is a little more drawn to squares, and one of them is drawn primarily to triangles, even though they're all drawn mostly to triangles. I think that whoever likes the most squares is usually the Sigh of the group. But of course, someone can be fond of squares without exactly being a Sigh, or at least without being Sigh dominant. But if they're not going to be Sigh dominant, and if they are drawn to squares and hats, then they're more likely to have a secondary dominance of Sigh in their personality. And so when you were studying all this, did you come across any opposition? Well, yes. My mother thought it was a bit silly, but a lot of other people thought it was very smart. And I think also, my girlfriend in college thought it was a bit silly. But I will say that my other friends thought it was a very cool idea, and so I stuck with it. There were some haters along the way, but I even if out of somewhat spite, I did stick with it. All right then. Gosh, I thought I had a question. I actually have a question. Okay. Stainless, Devin, if you were going to do any further study on this, which I certainly intend to, if you were going to do more, what would be the next thing that you would want to tackle in terms of your studies? Well, the next thing that I would certainly want to tackle would be groups of 3 interacting with other groups of 3. When I go home to my wife and husband, I usually do end up finding myself pretty comfortable in understanding my place in that relationship and which dynamic I fall into. But when it's me and my wife and husband talking to my mom and dad and sister, and then if you get another group of three in that mix, then will one group of three be more disc dominant, or will they all find some kind of equilibrium? My current theory is that my personal family is a lot more disc dominant, and I find that my family at home, my parents and my sister, are more koi dominant, and I find that if I were to be in a room with them and a group of three of my friends, then the three of my friends would perhaps be the Sighs. And why would they be the Sighs? Well, a lot of my friends do tend to be Sigh dominant in the first place, but if you feel like you're the outsider of the group, and if you go into a group of two people who feel like they know each other, you might end up having some Sigh feelings, and so therefore you would end up being the Sigh of the group. My friends don't know my family as well as I know my wife and husband, and they don't know me as well as I know my family. My family knows me better than they know my friends. So my friends are going to end up feeling like the outsiders. If I was to invite three friends to a family reunion, then maybe they would get some weird looks and by everyone else who was there, and maybe I would say, well, maybe they're just outsiders, but that doesn't mean they don't belong. That would create a group of 9, and you would find out from there where the dynamics would fall. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and go to the audience questions segment. Now, we can only take 3 questions per episode because we don't want this to be too long, but I will go ahead and take the first question now. We'll start with you on the far right.
Hi, my name is also Devin.
We don't need to get the names every time.
Stainless Devin?
Yes, hello, Devin.
I was wondering if there's 2 Sighs and they're always friends, then what do you do if there's if anyone else walks in?
I'm sorry, I don't fully understand. Are you asking for advice on if more people walk in?
Yes, you see, I'm a very big fan of your work, and I admire it a lot, and, me and my, best friend are both Sighs, and, whenever anyone else walks in, we do find that we don't know who to be.
Well, I would, therefore advise that, you use, what you have learned, from reading my theory, and you, really examine, how your Sigh dominance affects the way that you treat other people and the way that you listen to other people. I find that when I am in a group, I can base the way that I check my behavior off of the knowledge that I have about the way that they affect me already. If I'm more likely to be a Sigh around my koi and disc husband and wife, then I know that if I'm feeling insecure when my wife says something, that I can understand that maybe I'm just reacting to her koi factor, and I need to maybe sit down and think about why I'm insecure, and if that insecurity has less to do with her being wrong and more to do with me being insecure.
Thank you.
And we're all clapping now. Thank you, and we'll take the next question.
Hi, I'm still crying from before, but I just really wanted to say I'm a big fan.
Oh, thank you.
And I would really like to say that I have a question about chapter 2 of your book, Disc, Koi, and Sigh, the return of the theory.
Yes. What was your question about my book, Disc, Koi, and Sigh, The Return of the Theory?
My question is, if you had to write the book all over again, which would be the part that would be your favorite, and which would be your least favorite?
Well, my favorite part of the book is the part where it's the middle chapter, and there's this bit where I really get into understanding the Sigh aspects of office life, and I was really proud of what I did there. My least favorite part is the parts where I got into kois and talking about not the whole koi thing specifically, but there were some struggles in understanding what kois were. See, kois behave very differently depending on whether they have disc or Sigh traits, and so a koi in a hat is mysteriously very different than a koi without a hat, and so therefore I had to think a lot about why I was so frustrated, and it turned out that kois are often just very difficult to understand. All right, we'll take the next question. Hi, my name is Archibald. We don't really need to get the name. My name is Archibald, and I was wondering if your theory. If your theory does end up becoming officially recognized by academic people, where do you go from there? Well, I mean, it hasn't been officially recognized by academic people, but I do find that a lot of academic people think that it is very important, and I have been cited in a lot of journals, so I think that I'm not that far off, and so therefore from that point forward, I think that what I can say is that academic people would probably finally respect me, but even so, I think that a lot of them already do. Yes, and so if they eventually do, then what would you have be your next step? Well, I think that my next step from there would be to see if I could publish another book, because after all, I would like to continue my research, especially in terms of groups of 9 interacting with 2 other groups of 9, so if you had 9 people and then 9 more people and then 9 more people, like how would those groups interact, and how does that get into cultural things? Well, all right then. All right, so we are just about out of time. Stainless Devin, where can we find your next book? Well, my upcoming book is online, just like all my other books. And then the book after that, I hope that other people will soon buy that as well. But they're all online. You could buy them for about $3, and they're ebooks. Hopefully, I'll eventually get those in print. All right. Well, this has been another great episode with us, and thank you for joining us in another episode of whatever this was called. I'm Martha. I'm Lowest Voice Possible Johnson, and I'm Headphones, and that is Stainless Devin. Thank you for joining us. Yay, we're clapping yet again.